And I tried to flip the script and say, how can you empathize with everybody in the room? And I'm grabbing the highlighter on empathy, right? Where Aiden said, listen, really think about empathizing with what people want and connecting with them and changing that to a pull. Because he can push a mandate that says we need to be able to trace our food. What if tracing their food was an advantage to somebody who buys produce, somebody who merchandises produce in the store, somebody who moves produce, somebody who grows produce? There's a way to provide a solution for traceability of food that helps everybody. You're going to get much more adoption. So I know they talk a lot about the technical skills. These are the soft skills I think that you want to round out. And the number one I'd give you would be empathy. So those would be some of the top lessons learned. Questions for either one of us on those? Think about how abrasive it would be if I just said thanks, right? How you communicate is important as to what you communicate. They'd say it's 75% about how you communicate. Aiden, can you think of a meeting recently where you're like, you're saying this, but I'm receiving this?
Yes, often.
Conversation, managing self. What are other soft skills? How about that ability to sit there, right, like we're doing today, and be able to somehow grab the energy and shift it and shift the group? How can you do that? Because right now you're gonna be like, hey, I'm in learning. No one's gonna listen to me. I'm just starting out. Those are the best ideas that get left at the table that never get brought up. Or you bring them up and somebody else brings it up, but they get all the recognition, but you were the one that was the inspiration. So how do you activate? How do you relate? How do you inspire? How do you co-discover? These are all types of soft skills that you're going to gain, and it's going to help you become a CEO, start your own business, sell product, build the best product. All of that's going to help you. So that's how it would help with soft skills. As important as technical skills. Aiden, what did you do something specific to help you build soft skills? Have you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Last year, I have worked as a product manager for 15-person, 45-year-old men, and coming in not technical basis or really having the ability to empathize with those people. I had to learn very, very quickly how to influence without authority, how to empathize with people who I may not understand their background. And I learned very quickly that it's deeply important. Your communication skills are the information that you might bring to the table. So what I did was I constantly read, was staying up to date on psychology research, sociologists, the tech, right? But how people communicate to each other best. And then in building personal relationships with every single person on my team, members as extensions of yourself rather than adversaries, it becomes a lot. Learn how to kind of bridge that gap, right? Communication is two nodes rather than trying to things entirely. You're just creating bridges. So focusing on something that's tangible is really helpful.
You ready to spin the wheel? You ready to go do some questions? Let's do it. All right, question one. How the career transition from tech consulting at Accenture, somebody jumped on LinkedIn, to a blockchain specific role with one of the most traditional tech companies. So yes, I worked for IBM. Yes, I worked for Accenture. The answer to that would be, there was the MBA. It was frankly the MBA time. Call it straight. I was on a ski slope in Colorado. I had received a recruiting call that said, hey, I've got a company that would pay for your MBA if you want to go get it. And it was at the right time, so I said yes. So an MBA was part of what the draw was. That's what brought me to IBM. I never thought that I would, but what it's given me, IBM was much bigger in scope than Accenture. And because it it kind of was like starting with majors all over again. So almost every 3 years, I changed majors. I started a branding and consulting company. I started a big data and analytics organization. I started industry specific solutions for retail, consumer products, travel, transportation. And then I was at the beginning, started with blockchain. So I already told you about the move to blockchain, but it's taking advantage of what's out there. How about you, Aiden? How'd you get started into your blockchain specific role?
A lot of luck and accepting chaos, I think, is the most important. I had been working, so I have a pre-law degree, so not but I joined UW Blockchain Society and immediately kind of problems were. Realized that we didn't have a ton of people doing communication work, and so I hopped on every project I could, every hackathon I could, and eventually started my own company, doing like game, and then from there realized I really liked the consulting, and then as I realized I had another company reach out, some random email from someone I didn't know that ended up just kind of followed what made.
Mine's pretty short since I've already shared. Mine was when I applied it, when I mentally applied its ports. That's when I knew enterprise blockchain made sense. And when I was able to communicate it into an article that they charged for this article that I wrote. I'm like, wait a second, I don't see any royalties for that. But that's when I knew. So that was an easy one for me. Aiden, how about you?
Funny enough, so I've always been a big fan of IBM, but you know, as a person who really didn't like crypto, and then learning that there were applications that were helping people around the world, and I don't know, I remember reading documentation and real capital management. It was data storage management, and realizing it's far more efficient. I don't know, everything clicked. I was like, oh my God, this is not being communicated appropriately. An amazing piece of technology that I personally think is going to revolutionize in the next couple of decades. So that was mine.
Thank you so much for that.
I'd follow up if I was to think, if I was to go further out, I would say when we can apply blockchain that adds value to make the world better, to create economic wealth, that's when that's an outcome that is easy to push to adoption. So I would look to that too. Biggest challenges, and I'm going to put this in the blockchain space. Number one is the war for talent. And when I say talent, that means all of you. What makes you special? What have you done? How have you demonstrated leadership? How have you failed? How have you recovered? Right? So I'm competing every day against Coinbase, Accenture, EY, Honeywell, Walmart India, and IBM are very, very competitive for the war for talent. I'd say that is one of the biggest that you do. So fortunately, I'm in a situation where I really like to connect. And when you share your experiences, they want to be a part of it. So if you think of any team that you've been a part of, it's usually that connection that keeps you there. So as long as I'm able to provide meaningful work, impactful work that aligns with what you want to do, I think we can go very, very far together. Aiden, flip it to you.
What are the biggest challenges I've faced? Let's see. Specifically in a PM role, understanding, like different levels of technical understanding. Everybody comes from different backgrounds in any industry, not just blockchain. You need to have people with different backgrounds because they can't get otherwise. But not everybody, functionally understands Raw and understands different data vendors, things like that. So the biggest in figuring out 1,000 different ways to communicate the same idea. Where I go about solving them, talking to everybody all the time. I I don't think I ever fully understand a topic. I'm always trying to learn from other. The more I talk to people, the more I understand how others are communicating these ideas. My biggest. That's how I've solved that, at least.
It goes back to Matt, who's on your left.
This would be Ian.
And it goes back to the soft skills. You can hear the soft skills carrying her further. Aiden, you want to keep the mic here? I love the energy. Hey, Aiden, you mentioned that you were the president of the Blockchain Society when you were at school. How long has it been since you graduated? How have you seen the landscape change in the time you've been in the industry? And you've seen significant change in the depth and specific to you. It's a great question.
Tired. I graduated in June of this year, so I've been working full time for about 2 years now. So I was taking classes, and but I have watched, literally billions of dollars evaporate overnight several times. God. I've watched entire companies go under. I created. I will say right now we're kind of at a really amazing, largely because this is the first drop we've had where we haven't seen more investment in blockchain. But it's crazy. I don't even know how would you describe the last 6 months, Kurt? It doesn't feel real at all.
And a little bit of the bridge over River Kwai at the very end. There's spoiler alert. They burned the bridge, and I'm wondering if there aren't bridges that are being burnt that we won't see again. And yet, when one door closes, another door opens. And I do think that the blockchain technology is still having the fortitude and the staying power because of the promise that it delivers with the shared ledger. It is going to become a fabric. It will continue to be a fabric, a core tenet as we move through Web3. I do think that the shakeout for the get rich quick and the integrity in business is what's going to persevere. But I do want to temper this, that this is a technology solution. It's an approach. It's not right for everything. It's not a blockchain hammer. Nor doesn't control it, right? It doesn't do everything. But it is an amazing technology when applied in the right situation. So know this, know Web3, get ahead, know where the future is going. So I think to me, the biggest change is I watched NFTs in Vegas, tokens in Vegas, which were early stage NFTs. I was with 30 companies that only 2 of them exist anymore. And this was 4 years ago. All cry. Then we had the NFT run. So it's okay. Jump in, learn it, fail, and take that learning somewhere else. So yeah, there's a lot more people right now with scars that didn't have them.
I think
Kurt, do you mind if I jump in again?
we have a question from Kevin. Kevin, you want to?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So I think you were talking about how at first recognizing the technology and recognizing that the impact that it can have is kind of the first step in learning it really well so you can apply it. And I think that we have a lot of people who have kind of done that, at least partially so far. We have people who are really good problem solvers and have at least somewhat of a technical knowledge right now and maybe some experience in entrepreneurship. But when you go to start applying those, at least in entry-level positions, a lot of times it's pretty siloed to where you're only doing one of those things. And I think especially entrepreneurship or creating your own ideas is a lot harder. So do you think there are any good ways, and maybe some ways unique to Web3, that you could get started there? And is maybe part of it just pursuing a deeper technical knowledge at first?
What outcome? What's the desired outcome, Kevin?
Well, I think that probably varies depending. I think for me personally, I would love to be. I've already started one company at this point that deals with a physical product, and moving into software and Web3 is something I'm really interested in now. So for me personally, I would want to start doing something there. But I know that probably varies for other people in the room.
So it's to choose a path. I'm hearing you'd like to find a
Not
path.
necessarily something that uses blockchain. I think blockchain is something that I'm really interested in, but I don't necessarily want to use blockchain just for the sake of using blockchain. I think it opens a lot of doors right now, and it maybe is more accessible than some other technologies. So that's why I've centered in on it a little bit. But I guess even in a more generalized sense, blockchain excluded. Say you're a problem solver. Say you're someone who wants to get in industry. what's a way to start applying yourself that's not just becoming an intern for a company that you're not really able to apply what you've been trying to learn and trying to get better at, I guess.
Aiden, do you know anybody that's dealing with it now?
Yeah, no,
Okay, sorry about that. Wanted to make sure.
And pizza showed up. Look at that. All right, sorry, go ahead, Aiden.
okay. Yeah, so one of my biggest gripes with tech in general, people will get really excited because they figured out how to build something. I'm going to build a company around the existence of this tech. In a tool that humans use to solve problems, and we have had problems since the dawn of existence. So I have two things I would recommend doing. One, I write down here anyone complain about, big or small. I have a list in my phone. Anytime it'll be out in the open, strangers, friends. And what that kind of trains your brain to start noticing patterns where there are friction in parts of things. And then the other thing is to recognize that blockchain, for example, might be new. The problems it's learning are being used to solve. So, for example, I specialize in DAO applications. DAOs are new itself. DAOs are new, but democracy. So when I'm looking to apply this tech, I will look into history and see, all right, where has democracy succeeded? What edge cases do I need to be aware of, and how can I apply that? Predict how your tech is going to operate with the universe by looking at places where people have tried to solve the problem a similar way you are.
Thank you.
Kurt, you want to go ahead? I'm done. Sorry, I just.
Bye. All right, this is gonna be real. I'm gonna go esoteric on you, Kevin.
Totally. Yeah. No, 100%.
And I'm gonna ask everybody just kind of mentally to leave the room. Let's go out. Is IU is a, I mean, sorry, Purdue. Oh my gosh, did I just do that? Purdue it's a grass football field, right? Or you guys have your big lawn.
Yeah.
Right, where people hang out, throw a frisbee. Okay. So if you sit yourself down in that space and you were to look down, what would you see? Just start tossing some words out, you guys. What would you see?
Grass.
Grass. What else?
Soil.
Soil. What else?
Probably snow.
Yeah, snow right now. Let's go summer. It's even a little more uplifting right now.
Insects.
Insects. What else?
Students throwing a frisbee.
Kids. So we're looking down. I want to stay focused here. Sorry. You might see a frisbee that comes right in front of you. Yeah. Sorry.
Footprints.
Footprints. And what we should feel right now is, as we were thinking about that, we went deeper into what's happening right there. What you'll also see is space. You'll see all the grass just like this, but you'll see spaces in between. So you think that the grass looks full and green, but the longer you look, there are spaces and opportunities for grass to grow into. When you look at the soil, it has space. It can infill. And when I'm looking at the future, I'm looking for those spaces. I'm looking for what's needed. Think about when if you celebrate Christmas and you put the ornament on the tree, you're looking for where you want to put that. So I use that as a metaphor, or look for the white space. And think about how that's going to fill and make the world better, one blade of grass at a time. So there's your metaphysical moment for a minute. And it's about a feeling. It's about a way to wake up. It's not an analytical answer. There, Kevin. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. All right, so let's move to Sam. Are you good with your answer?
Yeah. Great. Awesome.
Zfong, is that right?
Yeah, Ian.
Thanks. Sorry, I should have read the rest.
That's okay.
Let's see. Speak on what IBM's trying to solve with blockchain tech,
7:30.
and where do you see this tech in 10 years? I'm going to go backwards on that one. I see the tech is a way to deliver on a project. We may pick a SQL database, we may pick Java, we may pick blockchain, we may pick Excel, right? It is a capability that brings companies together So I see it as one of the alternatives. What we're trying to solve with blockchain, whether I'm working on voting, whether I'm looking at medical records, whether we're looking at the state of New York, where all vaccinations have been recorded, and whether I'm trying to deliver safe food around the world, whether I'm creating new bank offerings. There's just so many areas: insurance, claims, reducing fraud, energy, right? Energy credits, reconciling energy credits, genomes. We're putting genomes on chain so that the pedigree of the genome is traced all the way through. It's kind of it's back to that blade of grass. Where's the need, right? But then you need to surround yourself with people. You need to quantify, make sure that there's a market, an addressable market. And sometimes there's not. Was delivering to home groceries really that important? It was important enough for our CEO of Accenture to quit, to go over to run a company called Webvan that this room has probably never heard of, right? They wanted to deliver and they burned so much money. But if we think about the amount of money that was used during COVID for delivering groceries, whew. So long answer. I guess I'm kind of good at that. You want to do your 10-year view, Aiden? 10 years, where's blockchain?
I want to think long of a time. I hope that we get to a point, I kind of agreeing with your first point, where blockchain is simply an infrastructure, where people aren't marketing blockchain products as the specific technical terminology, but it's more so marketed based on the value that it gives. So whatever that application is, I have also been following genome tracing on chain. I'm a big nerd for supply chain optimization on chain, to the point where global communication is heavily on. Big one that I will say, coming from the compliance side of things, we have so much friction around the world in different global markets. And I believe that blockchain as a universal currency will eventually allow a more efficient global economy. I'm stealing that. That's mine now. I'm sorry.
Awesome. And my smile there was, Matt, I liked your jingle. Thanks for adding that in the chat.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you said earlier, like read a white paper a day, and that was one of my goals for the next month. So I actually was at this library and I printed out a few papers.
Awesome.
That's the coolest thing ever.
Ian, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good. And also we have, I think, like 4 more minutes,
Oh,
sorry
yeah.
to cut it short, but yeah, I think the room is booked after us.
Oh, no. I tried to hit some of those, Matt, on the Hyperledger, various companies. Number one is what's in it for the participating company. I go back to that word empathy. Make sure you know the value you're creating. FTX. And there's an FTX in every year, it is. So build with integrity, have a team with integrity, know your risks, right? Surround yourself with people that will keep you in check. I don't want to, there's so much to comment on. Aiden, what would you like to add on the FTX?
On FTX, finance is deeply important, and we're watching the consequences of centralized finance. Follow, if you can't see where your money is going, some blanket. That's the biggest one. Yeah.
So there's the other is, it was rising, and it's easy to make money, and you're masking many problems when the market's going up. When it starts to go down, the cracks are revealed. They ended up underwater, over leveraged, number of different things. What's it going to do for innovation? I think there's a whole mix right now. I think we are in a contraction period. But the innovation doesn't stop, right? So yes, there is an impact, but I think there's a bigger market impact here. FTX just got caught in their own watershed.